just finished another men's journal. This is the third journal for men I've made. They have been very popular. As soon as I make one, it seems like they sell. So this one the cover is Tall Timber Tales, more Paul Bunyan stories. I found this book in a thrift shop when I went to Eugene about a month ago, and it had a dust jacket on it, so I peeked under the dust jacket and I saw this cover and I just really love it. And it was, of course, because it had a dust jacket, it was in really good shape, although it's not exactly that old anyway. I'm thinking mid-70s. Paul Bunyan and his Blue Ox Babe, they're folk legend heroes in the Pacific Northwest where I live. So everybody loves Paul Bunyan here, and in fact a lot of the towns around here have, well, a few of them anyway, have statues of Paul Bunyan or Babe. So it had a spine that was, let me show you the spine because I did save the spine. So this was the original spine. It was, about 3/4 of an inch, and I knew that I would not be able to get very much in the book, so I took that one off. I'm going to include it with the journal as a bookmark, and I replaced it with a spine that is 1 3/4 inches, so I added an extra inch. I started to rebuild the spine. Frankly, I haven't done that very much, and I started to use chipboard, but after I put it in, I did not like how stiff it was. It just had no movement, no flexibility, and so I ripped it off and replaced it with, you see how that spine now has all this nice movement? I mean, it can really lay flat, and yet it's very strong. So I used Craft-Tex with some decorative stitching. I like Craft-Tex. It's very sturdy and strong, and won't tear. You could stitch on it. It's just amazing stuff. And then on the outside to hold it together, I put this fabric, which makes me think of like an old hickory shirt, like the lumberjacks wear. And I didn't want to cover up too much of the book, so I managed to get a piece on here that was just wide enough. So, and the charm here is just an old keychain with a couple of keys on it. And I made this little tag, men's book, with my new eyelet setter. I finally got a Crocodile Big Bite, and I love it. I can now set eyelets with no problem. There's one there. There's one there. Closure is a keychain, and I like using that. Seemed to go with the men's journal theme. So inside is just some beautiful washi paper that was gifted to me, and I sealed it with a light coat of matte Mod Podge, so it's not sticky. It's very nice. And let me see if I'm in frame. There we go. So the beginning of each signature is just it's random. I usually use something like, a handmade paper from Nepal or something like that, but I kind of love this picture here of these workers from the 30s, I think. Especially this guy right in the middle there. Just seemed to speak to me. So decorated the edge of the paper with some of that washi paper. And so it has tea stained paper. I did a lot of stamping in here. I hadn't really planned on doing a whole lot of stamping, but I pulled out all the stamps I thought would go with this theme, and I had so many, and I just kind of like to use them to kind of make the whole page go together. Seems like it, works with what I have with it. And I did make this tag, some collaged papers, picture from an old children's book, some stamps. I did, and I used some big pages from the, I have that book about Humboldt County, and as you can see, there's this big ox here that's in their parade that they have in Garberville. So I thought that went well with the story. And it's a flip out. Somebody's beach sculpture there. Some of that printed paper I got from my sister. This is a page from a book. An elk. It's a little envelope with this car card and a playing card. The space shuttle. It was fun going through my stuff looking for manly things to put in this journal, not girly stuff. This is a page from the original book. It was actually the end page. Really nice thick paper. So there's writing space there. I do love this picture from the original book. It was the only color illustration in the book, so I want to make sure I included it. Some of my jelly print paper and different assorted rocks. So I printed off these really nice diagrams of plants, and then this is a postcard. Actually, this is a reproduction of it. I printed it myself and backed it with some paper. Seven Gypsies rub-on. I keep forgetting I need to get those out and look through them whenever I'm finishing up a journal, because they do add a lot to the page. So this is some children's toys. These are boy toys, what I would call boy toys. So I thought that would be fun to have in this. A microscope, a wagon, chemistry set. This was from an old scrapbook I have from World War II. And another page from the Humboldt County book. I like these kind of pages that have a lot of writing space on them. And a person could even write here on top of that, since it's pretty much a plain background. It's an old picture on some book page. This is from a book book I have that's called A Reverence for Wood. All these different things made out of wood. Really has some beautiful illustrations in that book. And so this is the center of the signature, and it's from my old atlas. So a little tag for writing on. So another page from the North by Northwest little flip book I have. Isn't this a beautiful picture? And of course, a lot of writing space here. More toys. Toy airplanes. These things came from a scrapbook that I have. This belonged to this boy, Rodney Nankervis, and it had a lot of stuff that his uncle, who was in the war, sent to him. So here's a postcard from World War II, sent to him by his uncle. And this is called V-mail. It's actually a letter. During the war, service people were allowed to send these at no postage charge. They were censored, so the content of it is very, very brief. Not much about anything that was really going on. Just chit-chat, small talk. It's from an old magazine. These are some prints of posters from the Mexican film industry. So they're in Spanish. I like the artwork. Like these two little boys with their raincoats. On the back it says, "When life gives you mud puddles, just splash." And this was Rodney's report card. I have quite a few of his things in here from that scrapbook. Botanical drawing. Well, not botanical. Anyway, it's an illustration from an encyclopedia, which I printed. Book page and I added a little picture from a children's book at the bottom. Another page from the original book. It's nice heavyweight paper. I made this pocket out of a paper bag with some collage, and then I stitched on a little corner of that jellyfish overhead projector paper film to make a little pocket here. And then here is another neat old car stitched onto a typed newsletter I have from March 1943. Sometimes when the pages aren't big enough, I like to add a little extra piece just to kind of make it the same size as the book. So here's a belly band, and inside it is this neat postcard. Let Julio's cater your spring and summer soiree. Some old architecture. And this is the end of the first signature. There's the rest of that picture. It was on the first page, and I just stitched on this because I thought it made a nice contrast with these workers and then this beautiful home with all this elegant furniture. So the second signature starts with the instructions for how to make a spinning wheel. This was something my sister gave to me. It came from the old wood shop where she lives. And a tag I made with one of those Tim Holtz characters, and then I didn't glue it on all the way, so I could just tuck that little ticket in there. And instructions for how to make an outdoor glider, and then some other toys that you can make out of wood. It's from I think an old Boy Scout book I have. There's the title page from Tall Timber Tales, 1977. This is a calendar page. It's a beautiful calendar page, but the problem with calendar pages is on the back side they have a calendar. So I stitched a picture from another book over that, and then that made a pocket for this, which is a card I found. Actually got this when I went to Camp Sherman, which is in Central Oregon. And then I stitched the fabric on the top just to give it a little handle so it comes out of the pocket easily. This is one of my jelly prints. There was a technique people were trying a few months ago using magazine pages as a resist, and so I had some really nice results, and this is one of them. So I thought I would include that in here. Postage stamps, little Tim Holtz paper here. So an old building in New York from the 1800s. This is a page from the Ansel Adams book I have. One of his photographs, and another one. And this is from Arizona Magazine. I like the illustrations in those magazines. They have some beautiful photography. This is a page from the Caterpillar Parts manual. And I guess it's like a catalog. You can order these parts for your D8 tractor. I like that it has some handwriting in it, and the pages are a little bit dirty from having it out there when someone's working on their old Caterpillar. And so here's an envelope, and inside is a picture of these two little boys all dressed up. And an American Legion auxiliary card from 1934. This is a page from an old German magazine for farmers. It has lots of farm equipment and things that farmers could use, advertisements in it. The paper was kind of fragile, so I did add a piece of washi tape there. Another page from the catalog, this time tents. It's quite the tent there. Looks like a house. So on this side, men's clothing, men's underwear. This is the center of the second signature, and I took these two botanical prints and stitched them together, and now they have pockets on each side. So on this side, famous person, his name is Charles Hay Cameron. He was English. I think he was a famous lawyer there, and I just like the looks of it. And then on this side is just some pictures of birds, and you could write on the inside. Another page from the catalog. Since it was pillows, I decided to use this stamp, which it's kind of the moon and some stars. So here I have I put this envelope, which I tea stain, and then inside it has an idea I got from a friend of mine. She took her packaging from a Tim Holtz product and then just stitched some paper onto it. So that's what I did too, to make a little notepad. Here's the other side of that envelope. On the outside is a German flashcard. Was ist das? It's all in German. No, I can't read it. And also a picture of Bandon Dunes Golf Course right here in Bandon. Isn't it beautiful? It's going to be busy this weekend. This weekend is the Cranberry Festival. People will be coming from all over. And they'll be setting up a carnival right across the street from my farmer's market, which means there will be no parking. It's going to be crazy. And then they're going to have a parade too. Another page from the Caterpillar catalog. And some more of the Arizona magazine pictures. Isn't that gorgeous? This is a page from an art supply catalog. I think or drafting supplies. These are erasers. An Ansel Adams page. Another tall building. This is the Guarantee Building in Buffalo, New York. And the statue of Ben Franklin in Philadelphia. There's the rest of that jelly print. It was a guy holding a guitar. An ad from a magazine. There's the rest of that calendar picture. Isn't it gorgeous? So I thought this picture went really well with it. The colors and just seemed like this would be a place that would have sheep. This is one of my sister's paintings, and I've used it to make, and it's a print of her paintings. She gave me a bunch of them. So I used it to make this little corner tuck spot. And this is a print I made of the official Portola Festival in San Francisco. And this is a big cigar label. I don't know where I can't remember where I got those, but they're kind of cool. Some writing paper. It's one of those Seven Gypsies rub-ons. It's a guy with his muscles showing, and this is a little sticker that advertises a heavyweight boxing match between Dempsey and Gibbons. So this is the end of the second signature. Here is a page from this little book that my sister found. It was a log tally sheet. So I thought this really went well with Paul Bunyan. It was turned into the United States Department of Interior, the Bureau of Land Management, and you listed all the logs and where they were positioned on the logging truck and all that kind of information. And a time card. On the back of it, I put some paper from the spinning wheel diagrams, and then just a little piece of beautiful Art Deco furniture. This is a page from the Coast Guard manual. It's all the different insignias that the officers have, and then what position they are, like, you know, lieutenant or whatever. And here's this last signature. The first page of this is a page from an art book. The art book has some beautiful illustrations. It's one of those old, big, giant, you know, art instruction books. This is a print of another one of my sister's paintings. The San Pablo, which actually was a boat that's owned by a relative of ours. And a replica of some French money. On the back is a diagram of Niagara Falls. A page from an Impressionist artist book that I have. Has some interesting prints in them. I like the close-ups of all the different textures of paint because they put it on so thick. The muscles and how they work. Some neat diagrams. This is a children's book in another language. I think it's Chinese, but I'm not sure. Maybe Japanese. Another picture from the Humboldt County book. Look at those beautiful trees. Must be in the redwood forest. Southern Humboldt County. Lots of nice writing space there. This is a page from a program for a baseball game. It was San Francisco was playing Oakland, and it was, my husband told me it was a minor league game, and the person actually kept score of the game on this little score sheet. So, I found this in a magazine. It's a has recipes for different drinks, like an old fashioned, a highball, etc. So I thought, well, that kind of went good with this illustration I have had for a while from an old book. It says, arrived safely with my luggage at Wells. So that must have been the place he was staying at. So see all the bottles in there. Thought that was funny. This picture has my husband in it. That's him right in the middle. This was when we first met. He and his two friends were hiking through the Haleakala crater on Maui, and that's where we met. And they took this picture. I thought that was, and it was cool. His friend Mark was a photographer, so he had put the pictures on his computer and sent them to him. So I print that out every now and then and tuck it in. So on this page, I had wanted to include this little booklet I made, but I couldn't find a place to put it in the journal because it was just adding so much thickness. But then I decided I'd already accidentally stitched these two pages together. So I thought, well, I'm just going to do a little line of stitching up here and make a pocket for it. And because in the book, this part of the book isn't as bulky as down here where all the tags and stuff are. So it actually worked out pretty well. I didn't think I was going to be able to include it, but I did after all. I just think it's so cute. These are cigarette, no, not cigarette, matchbook covers. That's it. They're so funny. These cats are drinking. So here it says, cheers, friend. No, thank you. I'm just drinking milk tonight. He had heard this story before. It seemed like the perfect idea at the time. Sometimes he would get bored and aggressive. Anyway, I won't read the rest. It is cute, though. So, I managed to figure out a way to include it after all. It's just tucked right up in here on the top of this little pocket. And then where I stitched, there's another pocket. So here's a guest check. And this is just a tuck spot. That's where it's stitched together. So these are pictures showing people at sawmills cutting up wood. That's where my dad worked when I was a kid. He worked in a sawmill. Was where, you know, back in the 40s and the 50s, there was a lot of wood being cut here in the Pacific Northwest. I just added a little extra writing paper here. This is actually an old book page. I like the paper. Here I stitched. So this is a page from a book. It has a lot of reproductions of old pictures in it. It's an interesting book. I can't remember what it's called. But every now and then I use pictures from it. And then I stitched these two pieces on each side to kind of fill up the page, and it makes a nice little border. I like this picture here. Looks like a mountain man. Making your own repairs. This is a coat of arms. I have the original copy of this, but it really prints up nicely, so I went ahead and made a print and stitched it onto this page. Remember this lamp from A Christmas Story? Another beautiful page. A sunset in Humboldt County. There's a picture of Garberville. This is migration of birds. An envelope that I had to kind of add a lot of reinforcement to turn it into a pocket. It was falling apart. So inside is a letter that the uncle wrote to his nephew, a piece of blank writing paper. And tucked in the back is this picture, which I think is hilarious. Page from an art book. This is a Renoir. Some mushrooms. This is from the art instruction book. I think this page is beautiful. And that's the back. So this one took me 3 days to finish. It went pretty fast. It was a lot of fun to do, and I do plan on making more men's journals because I really think there's a demand for that. All right, thanks for watching.